Hello everybody, this is Connor at BoatsDon'tSink, here with another episode of Weekly Weiss for September 23rd, 2022. Apologies for this one being a bit later in the day. Bushiroad has been making announcements throughout the day, though most of them ended up just being things like giveaway winners. But we did get a little bit of important information earlier this morning. So today we're going to be looking at some more BCS 2022 results, the newly announced restriction list update, and the release date has been announced for Kaguya-sama Love is War Set 2. So starting off with the BCS results, we have Osnabrück in Germany, which I believe is the first European regional of the season. We have a lot of 8 standby quintuplets here, getting first, third, fourth, and a top 8 finish. Really the only deck build really that got multiple tops here, taking up half the top 8. The only deck breaking into top 4 for an invite, or top 3 really for an invite, that wasn't the quintuplets was a Korone Marine Hololive build. And then we also see Kanata Marine, 8 standby Mushoku, and Danmachi rounding out the top 8. So really just a lot of this sort of standby wall strategy. Quintuplets continuing its pretty dominant reign of finishes that we saw last time as well. We'll have to see if that continues throughout the season. As I mentioned, we did get a restriction list update today, so it'll be interesting to see if we have to get another one in the near future to hold back this quintuplets deck that has only been in the meta for 3 weeks now and is putting up results like this. Looking at our other regional, we have a bit of a more diverse spread. This is Rosemont, Illinois. We have first place with the Gate Draw Slime, the Clinton Chan special, piloted by none other than Clinton Chan himself. Pretty typical like set 1 slime build, playing for compression and heals, though it's opted instead of comeback triggers to play draw triggers to add a finisher option to be able to close out games when necessary instead of just relying on compression and heals. We see another slime build in 4th place, choosing to play the set 1 return finisher, but otherwise a fairly similar strategy. It's interesting to look at return triggers in the current meta with all the sort of like standby decks and wall decks running around. 3rd place we have the usual 8 standby quintuplets, and 2nd place we have Kanata Marine, though this is the Okayu level 1 variant that we saw in Duluth get top 8. The same pilot has taken it to a 2nd place finish here to earn a Worlds invite. The rest of top 8 we do see a more standard Kanata Marine deck and Danmachi. However, we also see 2 8 comeback quintuplets. So this is the first quintuplets we've seen this season that is not the 8 standby build, opting instead for a much more sort of aggressive advantage-based strategy in hand instead of field. It's a sort of unique deck in that its back row gives it +1 to the hand size limit, allowing the deck to hold up to 9 card hands with 2 of them in the back row. It has obviously the comeback triggers, brainstorms, and a level 1 combo that generates a ton of card advantage, allowing the deck just to hold a massive hand at all times and use it to pay the discard 3 cost for its finisher that is very potent and can end games very consistently, making it definitely a strong deck to watch out for, even if it's not sort of the popular 8 standby build that we're seeing so much of. Looking at the events that we have upcoming for BCS, next weekend, or rather this weekend, tomorrow and Sunday, we have the Spain Regional, and then next weekend we have Toronto, Ontario. So pretty consistent stream of at least 1 regional most weekends moving forward. So we'll have to see if the patterns for 8 standby quintuplets topping a ton hold true throughout those. And speaking of decks topping a ton, we did get a restriction list update. This goes into effect October 10th and seems to be mostly based off of the Springfest and BRO results. Obviously, a lot of people wanted Quintessential Quintuplets, the standby deck, to be restricted as it is in Japanese. However, that's only been in the English format for 3 weeks, so I do think it is a bit early to really look at restricting that. Maybe something in March after this season, before the spring season, keeping on like a 6-month restriction list cycle, we could see it getting hit then. I think the notable thing here is Kaguya-sama Love is War, the K runner clean cut level 0 is now unrestricted, which was previously restricted on the last restriction list update. And I think that, Kaguya-sama there was a lot of negative feedback from the community regarding Kaguya-sama getting restricted in the first place. So I do think it is very good that Bushiroad is listening to that feedback and looking at working the set sort of back into the meta and unrestricting it. Important probably not to just unrestrict it entirely right now, since we do have set 2 scheduled and now announced with a date for a spring release. So we might not want to just completely unrestrict it and then set 2 tear the meta apart because of that. So a slow unrestriction, and we'll see what set 2 does. And Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation, this is the other big one. It was on over 60% of the Springfest topping teams. It got a ton of high places in BRO, and then started off the BCS season strong with a 1st and 2nd place finish in Houston. And this is restricted as well in Japanese, so makes sense that they would take this hit here, even though a lot of people think Mushoku isn't as big of a problem with quintuplets in the format. But I think nonetheless it needs to be restricted just to open back up the format at level 1. Eris's being 8500 to 9500 power on defense locks out a lot of the sort of like tier 1.5, tier 2 decks at level 1. And I think this sort of widens up the meta for those decks to have a chance again. So, good change overall. I'm a bit surprised to see it in the middle of the season. I would have expected them just to wait until after the entire season. But with the way the timing on these has gone, we got one in March and now September, so 6 months apart. 6 months from now in March, we'll still be between the fall and spring season, so we can get another adjustment there. And I think that's perfectly fine. For those of you wanting to see the whole restriction list, this is everything, previous restrictions, and the current newest update. So Batman Ninja, Kaguya-sama, and Mushoku Tensei each having a choose one of 2. And Data Live having a choose one of 3 along with the 2 copy limit on Kurumi 3-2. Lastly, we got the Kaguya-sama Love is War set 2 set for February. We got a date announced for it. This is a little strange because 7 Deadly Sins Volume 2 is set to release in December, and we don't have anything announced for January. So we're looking at a 2-month gap between those 2 set releases. It'll be interesting to see whether we do get like Data Live put in the January slot, or if it's just going to be a 2-month gap with nothing, or if it's something that hasn't been announced yet, period. Though it seems to be getting a little close for that, so I personally expect Data Live to be announced in there, and they might just not have the exact date finalized yet. Because it's worth noting, if it's January 13th, that will make it legal for the World Championships. If it's January 20th, it will not be. Either way, though, I'm definitely looking forward to Kaguya-sama Set 2, especially with the K level 0 unrestricted now. I think the deck has a pretty good chance of moving back into the meta. That's all we've got for this time, though, so thank you everyone for watching. You can find me at BoatsDon'tSink on Twitter, and you can check out our store at Iron City Games on Facebook or ironcitygames.tcgplayerpro.com, where you can pre-order playsets and sealed product, as well as purchase any singles you need. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.